Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we're the Castro.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
Passengers continue to arrive at terminals to travel to their provinces this Christmas and New Year holidays.
Authorities are rushing to secure all possible evidence from former Public Works Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral following her death.
Lawmakers have a one-day window to review the bicameral conference committee report on the 2026 national budget.
The QCPD said missing bride-to-be Shera De Juan had been facing emotional distress and financial concerns prior to her disappearance.
All right, first in the news, with the holiday rush in full swing, thousands of passengers are flocking to the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange as they head home to provinces. Mobile Journal Evan Tarinque is reporting live on the ground. All right, Evan, last time we talked, medyo okay pa ata ang dami ng tao ngayon. How is the flow of people where you are?
Yes, Diego. Currently, dito sa may first floor ng terminal, no, medyo maluwag pa naman, nakakapaglakad pa naman yung mga tao. Pero pagdating sa second floor, kung saan dadalhin ko kayo ngayon doon, aakit lang tayo ng konti dahil doon talaga sa may second floor ng terminal, doon talagang makikita yung dami ng pasahero. Kanina nga, may mga nakausap tayo doon na ilang pasahero na doon, ngayong araw lang sila nagkaroon ng free time para actually makapaglakad at makapunta dito sa terminal at makauwi na sa kanilang mga probinsya. Pero so far, as of this morning, no, kanina maluwag-luwag pa naman. Pero pagdating natin dito, ayan, makikita na natin na mas makapal na yung volume ng tao. Pero kanina, dun sa datos na nakuha natin, no, as of this morning, nasa mahigit, kulang-kulang 50% na ng mga biyahe pa Bicol, ang fully booked na. No? Kanina nga, pagpunta natin doon sa ilang mga ticket booths, marami pa rin yung mga kapatid nating nag-aantay at nagbabaka sakali na makabili ng ticket. Yes, Diego.
Evan, itong nakikita natin sa mga video na pinapakita mo ng live, no? Yung mga ito, are they chance passengers or nakabook yung mga ito at naghihintay lang ng kanilang biyahe?
Yes, Diego. Currently sila, halo-halo na to no? Mm-hmm. So yung mga nasa ticket booths, usually sila yung mga nag-aantay ng ticket na makabili, no? Ito, malapit tayo sa may ticket booth dito. Itong ticket booth 2. I believe ito yung ticket papuntang Laguna
Okay.
Pero yung papuntang Laguna, doon sa nakuha nating data kanina, 0% pa naman yung mga fully booked na biyahe. So ito, may kita natin, medyo makapal na yung volume ng tao. Pero itong ticket booth number 2, silipin natin ng konti. Ito, Mindoro, Quezon niya. Ito, medyo konti pa yung tao. Silip tayo konti.
So open pa yung ibang ticket booths to up to today na magbibenta sila?
Yes, tama ka dyan, Diego. No? Open naman yung mga ticket booths as of today, no? Yung papuntang Bicol Region lang talaga. Yung medyo punuan na talaga. No? Pero ito, may kita natin, maluwag yung mga ticket booths papunta to doon sa mga Quezon at iba pang northern region. No? Pero paglabas natin dito...
So yung Bicol ang sarado?
Not necessarily sarado, Diego. No? Sorry ma'am. Not necessarily sarado, pero yung iba, talagang nakapila na. Doon sa labas, nakaupo na nga iba para na makakuha ng ticket, no, sa sahig para kahit pa paano daw magkaroon sila ng chance na makauwi.
So in other words, Evan, kung may no-show sa ibang biyahe, ibibigay yung slot?
Yes, tama ka lang, Diego. Yun yung concept ng chance passenger. Okay. No? So pag nag-no-show yung isang pasahero, mabibigyan sila ng slot. Pero yun nga lang, doon na sila mismo sa mga gate ng mga bus, pipila at hindi na sila makakuha ng ticket doon sa mga ticket booth. Pero sinigurado naman daw ng terminal officials na meron naman sapat daw. At kung kinakailangan pa ng additional buses, ready naman daw mag-deploy yung mga bus companies ng mga additional trips para nga ma-accommodate yung dami ng pasahero ngayon. Diego?
Alright, what about the security concerns there, Evan? Kamusta naman?
Yes, Angela. No, in terms of security concerns naman, may mga police assistance desk sa baba at second floor ng terminal. May mga nag-iikot din na mga police authorities dito sa loob at labas ng terminal. Doon pa nga lang sa may labat, may scanner at talagang mano-mano at isa-isa nilang sinicheck yung mga bags na papasok dito. Meron din mga K9 units na nakadeploy doon sa entrance para talagang amuyin yung mga big boxes na nakabalot at parang masiguro na walang makakapasok na mga pinagbabawal. Kasi as of yesterday, mahigit 250 na mga pinagbabawal yung na-confiscate na dito sa loob ng terminal, Angela.
Alright, what about canceled trips? Meron ba tayong mga naitalang canceled trips dyan ngayon?
I'm sorry, Angela?
Canceled trips. Meron bang mga naitalang canceled trips?
So far, Angela, wala namang canceled trips na nailalabas or naitatala so far, and tinanong nga natin kahapon yung terminal officials kung meron bang mga apektado dahil yun nga, pagdating kasi ng December, medyo maulan at yung ilang mga biyahe na apektuhan. So far naman daw, wala pa silang namomonitor na pwede maapektuhan yung biyahe ng mga pasahero. Pero ayon sa kanila, yung terminal naman daw, kung sakali man magkaroon ng cancel trips or ma-adjust yung biyahe ng mga bus, open naman daw 24 hours yung terminal kung saan pwede maglagay yung mga pasahero maapektuhan kung sakali man magkaroon ng mga cancel trips, Angela.
Evan, kanina may binanggit ka mga items na nakakonfiscate. Ano ba ang wag na lang dalhin para hindi na maperwisyo ka pag pasok mo dyan sa baggage check?
Tama ka dyan, Diego. Napakarami pinagbabawal na dito sa pagdadala sa terminal ng mga matutulis sa bagay, mga flammable materials, yung actually kanina sinilip natin yung collection box ng mga confiscated items doon sa may entrance. At kanina nakita natin marami yung nagdadala ng lighter, may mga nakita tayong mga small knives, so pinagbabawal yan ng terminal dito sa loob ng terminal at doon pa nga lang sa security talagang kukumpiskahin na yan at hindi na yan maibabalik doon sa mga may-ari niyan at ito turn over na nga yan sa PNP. Diego?
Ayun. And finally, Evan, on my end, I was wondering also kung magkakaroon ba ng random drug testing sa mga drivers dyan. Because I remember, every
Last
time
year.
kapag may also, yung mga undas, di ba? They
Yeah.
do that. Pag may flock talaga ng mga passengers. So, ngayon ba, are they gonna do that as well?
Yes, Angela, we're waiting kung kailan nga magkakaroon ng random drug testing dito. Pero so far, tinanong natin yung authorities kung meron ba na nag-positive na bus drivers or mga nagmamaneho ng bus dito sa terminal regarding dito nga sa paggamit ng illegal substances. According sa kanila, wala pa naman daw silang naitatala na nagpa-positive dito nga sa paggamit ng mga illegal na droga. And they making sure naman na yung mga bus at yung mga drivers na babiyahe ay nasa well-kept at talagang hindi pumapayag na walang karelyebo, lalo na nga doon sa mga long trips. Lalo na yung papuntang Bicol Region na according sa mga nakausap natin, inaabot ng 12 hours or more. Depende pa yan sa traffic. So they making sure na hindi lang yung mga bus drivers yung capable at kayang bumiyahe ng matagal, pati na rin yung mga units, mga bus units na gagamitin na roadworthy pa yung mga ito at kaya pang lumabal sa mahabang biyahe.
Alright, thank you, Mobile Journal Evan Tarinque, reporting live from PITX.
Let's now check the provinces. Mobile Journal, Evan. No, Evan is just... We just talked to Evan. I think Francis Rivera. So we now check the situation at the bus terminals in Cubao ahead of Christmas Day. We have Francis Rivera joining us today. Hi, Francis. Francis, can you hear us okay?
Good morning, Angelo
Yun.
and Angela. At ngayon nandito tayo sa mga bus or sa isa sa mga bus terminal dito sa Cubao at base nga doon sa mga nakausap nating admin, fully booked na nga karamihan ng kanilang mga biyahe pero bukas pa rin sila sa mga walk-ins, lalo na doon sa mga chest stands sa passengers na darating pa rin ngayong araw dahil nga inaasahan nga nila na ngayon mataas ang volume ng mga pasahero dahil ilang araw na nga lang, Pasko na at talaga namang nagkukumahog na ang ating mga kapatid na umuwi sa kanilang mga probinsya.
Francis, yung mga fully booked na trips ngayon, ay karamihan ba sa kanila ay northbound, pa Ilocos, or pa Baguio?
Yes, Angelo. Ilan nga dyan sa mga biyahe na yan na may rutang papuntang Baguio, Lingayen, Pangasinan, Cagayan, at Quirino. Yung mga fully booked na to, ito yung mga galing sa mga online reservation, no? Pero iniinganyo pa rin nila na kahit paano daw, hanggat maaari, magpa-online reservation sila kahit sans passenger. Meron din sa mga website nila, no? Pero hindi naman nawawala ang posibilidad na makasakay pa rin sila dahil nga dito, katulad dito sa isa sa mga kilalang bus terminal dito, oras-oras daw meron namang dumarating ng mga bus no, papuntang Norte.
So in other words, Francis, hindi naman fully book lahat ng terminal. In other words, may mga mamimili ka lang kung anong company meron. Kumbaga, chance talaga.
Yes, Angelo. No? Katulad nga nung bus terminal na katabi nito, wala naman daw silang naitalang fully book dahil di naman daw sila nagpapa-online registration. So lahat ng mga darating sa kanila talagang walk-in at talagang madalas chance passenger. So ang kailangan nito talaga nila hintayin yung mga bus trips, no? Sundin yung mga oras ng mga dating at mga biyahe na to.
Francis, importante talaga ang security, especially sa mga terminals like that. Nakakakita ba tayo ngayon ng meron bang police visibility to make sure intact ang seguridad dyan sa area ninyo?
Yes, Angela. Kanina may mga dito sa kahabaan itong EDSA, since malapit ito sa kalsada, nakaantabay yung mga MMDA. May mga police at MMDA at traffic enforcer tayong mga naka-standby dito. At maging doon sa loob ng terminal, yung mga security naman talagang mahigpit na ipinapatupad at talagang ini-inspeksyon yung mga bagahe, lalong-lalo na yung mga pinagbabawal na dalihin, no? Kaya nga ng mga flammable materials at mga matutulis na bagay. At yun nga, gaya sa ibang terminal, talagang kukumpiskahin daw nila ito kung sakaling meron silang makuha.
Yung mga pets, pwede ba magdala yung mga passenger ng kanilang mga pets? At ano yung magiging guidelines if ever pwede?
Yes, Angela, kanina may mga nakita tayong may mga dalang kanilang alagang aso at iba nga, may mga dala pang mga manok, no? At yun ay pinapasok din nila sa loob ng bus at talagang ang pakiusap nga lang nila sana daw maging maayos at maging malinis itong mga pet owner, lalong-lalo na kung pabiyahe at medyo malayo ang kanilang biyahe.
Well, Francis, I'm sure na nakikita mo yung paligid mo as you were walking around kanina. Ano nagiging situation ng traffic around the Cubao area? Kasi every time mga ganitong panahon, grabe ang ipitan dahil naglalabasan yung mga bus.
Yes, Angelo, ngayong mga oras na to, makikita natin medyo may kaluwagan pa naman ang daloy ng trapiko. Ito kasi pa southbound itong daan na ito, no? Pero yung papuntang northbound, gano'n naman medyo may kaskipan na at medyo bumibigat na rin ang daloy ng trapiko. Pero as for dito, no, sa ating southbound, makikita natin medyo maluwag. Pero yun nga, nagkakaroon lang ng medyo gitgitan at medyo escape kapag may lumalabas na mga bus.
Alright, that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much, mobile journalist Francis Rivera reporting live from Cubao in Quezon City.
In other news, investigators now focusing on possible digital evidence tied to former Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral following her untimely death. Here's the report.
The Office of the Ombudsman has ordered the Department of Public Works and Highways to immediately produce all gadgets, computers, and other electronic devices previously issued to resign Undersecretary Maria Catalina Cabral. The Ombudsman says that, quote, upon turnover, these devices will be subjected to forensic examination by a law enforcement agency to determine whether any data was altered, deleted, or tampered with after the flood control scandal was first made public. Or what if the pieces of evidence were indeed altered? According to Assistant Ombudsman Miko Clavano, these will be subjected to further forensics. After all, these information usually leave a trace even after deletion. Meanwhile, Batangas 1st District Representative Leandro Leviste claims he is in possession of documents from Cabral herself. These contain proponents of DPWH projects, which included names of congressmen and senators. But what bewilders the neophyte lawmaker is that there are cabinet members and private individuals in the list who, to his knowledge, should have no hand in public works projects. Levista insisted that the documents he has are legitimate and even bears Cabral's handwritten notes pertaining to the project status and approving authority.
Si Yusek Cabral ang gumagawa ng budget. Ang question lang ay sino nang bibigay sa kanya ng mga instruction. Nandito po sa listahan, meron column on handwritten notes. Napaka-comprehensive talaga ng files ni Yusek Cabral. Pati yung mga handwritten notes, ginagawa niyang soft copy. At nakalagay dito sa mga handwritten notes, puro mga SMB for evaluation, SMB recommended. At I guess we can surmise that SMB is Secretary Manny Bonoan.
When asked to make public the documents, here's Levista's answer.
I would prefer that DPWH be the one to release it. At maganda pag isa publiko, pwedeng opisyal para walang mag-question ng authenticity. At may paliwanag din ang DPWH sa laman nito. At sana kompleto din. At kung may mas marami pang files na makalap sila sa opisina ni Yusek Cabral, isabay-sabay na nilang ipakita ang full picture.
Levista also denied reports he forcefully obtained the documents from Cabral, wrestling it out of the former DPWH Yusek's hands in one instance.
Ibinigay po ito sa akin noong September 4 at si Secretary Dizon po ang pwedeng magpaliwanag kung talagang hindi naman voluntary ang pagbisita po sa DPWH kasi alam naman po nilang lahat na may meeting po ako doon at mawag po si Secretary Dizon na pwedeng ibigay sa akin ang mga files. Through Director Alex Bote, ako nag-set ng meeting. Nandun din pa po sa DPWH si Director Alex Bote at mahalaga po na maprotektahan natin lahat ng mga files na nasa opisina ng planning services ng DPWH.
Another lawmaker who claims to be in possession of documents from Cabral is Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chair Panfilo Lacson. Senator Lacson, however, cannot confirm if he and Levista have the same documents. All he can say for now is, quote, "I'm glad that there is a Congressman Leandro Leviste who I think is hardworking enough to secure material documents that may help shed light on the ongoing investigations." For now, Lacson says he'd rather give the Cabral family time to grieve since authorities can still act on the files at the proper time and venue.
Joining us now is Attorney Michael Yusinko, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Good morning.
Good morning, Angela and Angelo, and good morning to all of the viewers of your program.
Well, Attorney, let's talk about the legalities of this situation. Since former Undersecretary Cabral has passed away, what legal avenues remain, especially for the family and, of course, DPWH and for the investigation of the flood control projects?
I'm not sure what you mean by legal remedies. No, kumbaga, the investigation by the ombudsman will be the primary, should be the primary custodian of the documents now. Kasi there is already an ongoing investigation regarding the flood control scandals, infrastructure-related corruption scandals.
Yeah.
No? So all documents pertaining to that or relevant to that, dapat ang meron ng tanga nito ay yung ombudsman. No? So anyone who has custody of those kinds of documents
Should surrender. Should surrender
surrender
their documents.
it, no? So,
Oo.
kumbaga, kung hawak mo yon at ayaw mong ibigay sa ombudsman, then you could be liable for obstruction.
Well, I'd like also to ask yung relative impact nitong untimely demise ni Yusek Cabral because we all know dead men tell no tales. Although meron siyang preponderance of evidence, but the question is, usually evidence, you need a backup with it. Sino ba may-ari nito? How did you obtain this evidence? Did you act? And these are things that you cannot ask anymore dahil wala na yung tao. So, ano yung magiging impact nito sa overall case? Because si Yusek Cabral can point to several of the key players in this issue.
Yes, you're exactly right, Diego. No? Kumbaga, any information that she has or that she had that pertains to her involvement and her liability, wala na yun. That's extinguished. No? So, yung mga information na kumbaga still relevant to other personalities, that has to be evaluated by the Ombudsman and the DOJ to a certain extent. No? Baka it can still be useful in the sense na it can corroborate other evidence pertaining to those personalities. So, yung situation ngayon, kung titignan natin in the context of a corruption litigation, yung mga information na tangan niya dati, whether be documents or notes or whatever, obviously, as far as she is concerned, wala na, no? It doesn't have any value with her or in relation to her. Pero dun sa ibang personalities pa, dun sa ibang conspirators pa, I mean, as a rule of thumb, that can still be helpful to the investigators and to the prosecutors, maybe as just a lead, a lead to further investigate other people, and also to possibly corroborate, strengthen evidence, pieces of evidence that relate specifically to those conspirators.
Pero attorney, what happens now to the cases that were already filed that have the late Yusek Cabral as one of the possible key witnesses to to strengthen the case against yung mga already yung supposedly detained already, no? How will the judge appreciate this written testimony that kailangan pa sana mag-testify sa stand? Ano mangyayari ngayon?
That will depend dun sa kung ano yung document na na-execute niya in relation to the case, no? So meron tayong procedures for perpetuation of evidence or perpetuation of testimony. So the ombudsman and the prosecutor should be asked that question, no? Sila makakasagot nun. But certainly the cases should proceed, no? I'd like to think na yung case build-up o yung prosecution case did not rely on her testimony alone, no? So the cases will still continue. I hope, no? I hope it still continues kasi dapat ang merong pang ibang ebidensya that can prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt, not just the late Yusek's testimony.
Well, I read somewhere, no, in some articles that the children of former Yusek Cabral could inherit substantial assets, no, including yung mga billions in real estates, millions in bank deposits, and these are complicated by the ongoing investigations, no. And ano yung mga legal means na po pwedeng gawin ng DOJ, ng Ombudsman to pursue civil forfeiture claims because, of course, we are looking at the angle na maaring itong mga pera na ito, itong ari-arian na ito ay nakuha mula doon sa mga flood control projects.
Yeah, so meron tayong tinatawag na mga provisional remedies. I'm sure the prosecutors are preparing for this now na they will ask the court to sort of attach a lien or notice doon sa mga properties in question na hindi pwede itong i-dispose. Kumbaga, they will, parang in a way, parang naka-escrow, something like that in principle na hindi siya pwedeng galawin ng mga heirs ni Yusek, no?
So,
but that has to go go through the process in the court itself, yung case itself.
Okay, pero yung AMLAC, when can they go into the case?
They're already part of the overall case, di ba? Meron ng mga na-freeze na assets.
Yeah.
Meron ng... So, ganun din. Same principle, no? So, the prosecutors will have to apply for the freezing of those assets and also the same process sa court na they will have an attachment to that para kahit na halimbawa for example ma-transfer siya merong pa ring lien na naka-attach na in case na malaman nga na ill-gotten wealth yon, pwede pa rin mabawi ng gobyerno yon. So there are remedies available, kumbaga judicial remedies and also administrative remedies like the AMLA.
Pero, well, obviously, no, I have to ask you this for the benefit of our viewers, no, attorney. So yung criminal aspect or liability ni the late Yusek Cabral is, in essence, extinguished due to her untimely passing. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate, no. So wala na. Yung hindi na siya pwedeng makasuhan ng criminal liability.
So,
Wala na eh.
Oo, wala na eh. Pero yung debt, if she has debt or any other restitution, are her family liable to pay that restitution also?
No, it's her estate.
It's her estate.
Which will be liable, no. So,
Okay.
in a way, indirectly, mababawasan yung inheritance ng mga heirs, no, kasi before they get their share, pag nisisettle na yung estate ni Yusek, magkakaroon muna, babayaran muna yung mga utang niya, tatanggalin muna yung mga properties na questionable. So, it's not directly the heirs who will pay the debts, but her estate will be liable for the debts. So, yung kung ano man ang mamanahin ng mga anak niya, mababawasan na.
Oh, unless pinangalan na sa bank account ng anak niya, wala ka na magagawa yan.
May remedies pa rin if that was done in subterfuge, no, na
Transfers,
merong
you trace it.
intent to they intend to hide or to evade, rather evade liability. Meron pa ring remedy to recover that.
Yun nga yung tatanungin ko no? Kasi parang ang crucial dito is how fast DOJ, Ombudsman, and of course AMLAC will take action in pursuing nga itong civil forfeiture claims. Dahil as we speak, wala pa naman talagang kaso. Tapos namatay pa si Yusek Cabral. So parang iniisip ko rin, naalala mo yung kay former Congressman Zaldico, 'di ba? He was able to move yung kanya mga air assets because wala pa naman siyang at that time kaso, walang nag-freeze at that time nung kanyang mga ari-arian, kaya he was able to move things freely. So, yun yung parang iniisip ko din dito. Although, at this point, ang pagkakaiba, Cabral has already passed.
Right now, meron ng mga cases, no? Meron na sa Ombudsman as sa Sandigan Bayan, kaya nga nakapag-issue na ng arrest warrant kila Zaldico.
Yeah, but
And
I'm
also,
talking
meron na
about
rin
Yusek.
mga pending cases sa Cebu, sa Lapu-Lapu, di ba? That's why nakadetain na sila Diskaya. So,
Yeah.
it's really now up to the prosecutors how they will achieve yung gusto natin mangyari na ma-prevent yung mga assets
Yeah.
ni Yusek
Yeah, but this
Cabral
one, I'm
na
talking about
mapunta
Yusek
sa
Cabral.
mawala
Oo.
bigla, di ba?
Oo.
Kasi attorney, for sure, wala pa naman na finding as to what was the cause of death, no? Pero based sa mga pronouncements ng DILG and the way they're talking, they're not ruling out also suicide. And if that was what happened, and for sure she had her affairs in order already and transfers, no? So you said pwede pa naman habulin yan. All they have to do is trace how much was transferred and to who was transferred. Is that correct?
Yes, no? Kasi meron din if just to add to the conversation, meron din naman tayo kasi yung civil procedure to recover ill-gotten wealth, no? So hindi naman ito kumbaga hindi limited to a criminal case, no? So merong mga options pa rin ang prosecutors natin to pursue this matter separately, no? From the criminal case. They will need to file a civil action of recovery of ill-gotten wealth. Meron tayong rules for that, may law tayo for that. So tama si Angela, it's a matter of the timing of it. Mas may urgency, I would say. They should recognize the urgency given alam naman natin yung kapasidad ng mga public officials natin who are involved in corruption na marami silang alam para makalusot.
What about yung nangyari after nga makita no yung body ni Yusek Cabral sa cliff sa Benguet ay parang binigay kaagad ng mga pulis no yung kanyang cellphone doon sa family, although the police head has relieved na sa ano niya no sa kanyang posisyon, pero in that case hingi na lang ng arrest warrant yung police. Arrest warrant ba tawag doon? Para makuha nila ulit search warrant, no? Para makuha nila ulit yung cellphone, ma-retrieve nila, gano'n na lang.
So yun yung breakdown of of the investigation process kasi kilala naman nila kung sino si Yusek Cabral, 'di ba? So at the very least, she is a person of interest in a corruption investigation, no? So the police should have recognized that. Hindi dapat nila kaagad-agad na sinorender yung personal effects. No? Precisely because of that, no, that it can still be part of a criminal corruption investigation. So yun yung breakdown. So kailangan managot talaga yung mga police doon. Why did they do that? No? But is it intentional or talagang they're just ignorant of kung ano dapat yung gawin? No? So that has to be reckoned with at their level, no, yung PNP. Pero kasi ang dapat noon, they should have held on to it. Coordinated with the ombudsman or the DOJ.
SOP yun dito? Attorney, di ba? Hindi ko alam, makakulang sa training itong mga pulis na ito. SOP yun
That is a possibility, no? At least they should have called kahit tawag lang or kahit text lang, no, sa DOJ o sa ombudsman na meron kaming personal effects dito ni Yusek Cabral. What are we going to do about it? Should we transfer it to you? Ano kailangan? Etc. etc.
I'd like to ask you, Attorney, about yung overall yung tinatahak ng investigation itong pagkamatay ni Yusek Cabral, no? The late Yusek Cabral. In any other circumstance, sinasabi nila if the same way na that she died happened and then and she's not part of any big scandal ongoing, the investigation would have wrapped up daw immediately given na walang special evidence that will point to foul play. But since she is, we mentioned, embroiled in this big scandal with big names, is it then premature at this point, based on what you've seen, to rule out actual foul play?
Yes, actually. Kaya nga pag nung napanood ko na si Secretary Remulla parang giving his preliminary, quote-unquote, view of the matter.
I want to ask you about that. He used the word I think.
Kasi parang, muna, hinay muna tayo, di ba? Parang,
yes,
let's get to the bottom of it muna, no? Bago tayo magsabi ng mga preliminary views natin. Coming from a public official like him, because people might think that's the official finding, no?
Yeah.
Magkakaroon ng, parang space for misinformation, miscommunication. So, mas maganda sana, no, if we had responsible and kumbaga prudent public officials, they would have waited to really to have a final official finding of what happened before they made their own views known.
Kasi standardly, attorney, di ba, you don't pag wala pang findings, you don't say what you think. You just wait for the actual evidence to point out.
I mean, that's all actually common sense, right?
I'm sure you watched it, di ba? Paulit-ulit, I think, and I think. Di ba? Parang, what ganon?
Parang speculation kasi,
yes,
di ba? But coming from an official like him, people might think that's not speculation, and that's the problem. No?
Alright.
So, hindi sana ganun.
Oo. Attorney, last na lang po, kasi naalala ko, since yesterday, merong bagong nagsoli ng pera, mga about 15 million, no? Isa sa mga contractors na nasasangkot nga dito sa anomalous flood control projects. At hindi lang yon, over the past couple of weeks or months, sila Bryce Hernandez and others were able to return some of the what's left or whatever doon sa kanilang mga allegedly nakuha from these projects. So what happened then to these, what will happen to these returned money, returned assets, and what will happen to these supposedly mga contractors, 'di ba, na nagsoli ng kanilang mga allegedly nanakaw?
So first, they will still be criminally liable, no? Kasi kaya nga sila nagsole because they did something wrong, no? They committed an offense. But as to the degree of liability, that will still be determined by, first, yung prosecutors, kung kakasuhan pa ba sila, sasama pa ba sila sa indictment, or they will be witnesses, etc., etc. Or, kung nasama na sila sa indictment, the court will now determine kung anong gagawin sa kanila. Now, as to the money, it also depends, no? Kung it will be used for evidence, then ang magkakaroon ng custody dyan would be the court. I-deposito yan, and the court will be responsible for that. Meron namang may paraan for the courts to keep that amount of money, no? So ganun yung mangyayari. Definitely, the fact na nagsoli ng pera, ibig sabihin, an offense was committed.
There's an admission,
right?
no?
It's an admission of participation in that offense, in that crime. Ang aalamin na lang natin kung
Gaano kalalim?
anong liability at kung anong mangyayari doon sa taong yon if indicted na.
Kung gaano kalalim yung participation nila. Well, with that, I think mahaba-habang usapan pa to. But for the meantime, maraming salamat po muli. As always, sa inyong oras, sa inyong insights, Attorney Michael Yusingo, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Maraming salamat din.
Alright, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
All right, Christmas shoppers flock to Divisoria and Manila 2 days before Christmas. And for the latest, we have mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, mula sa ICI, siya shopping na si Arles.
Mula sa ICI, MRT, LRT, now Divisoria.
Ba?
Arles everywhere.
Arles everywhere.
Magandang umaga, Angela at Diego. Nako, alam nyo, umaga pa lang napuno na ng iba't ibang mga tugtugan at nagsilinya na nga sa mga kalsada dito sa Divisoria ang iba't ibang mga panregalo at mga gamit panghanda sa Pasko, no? Kung saan marami tayong mga kapatid ang maagang nagsipunta dahil ayon sa kanila, ayaw daw nilang maipit, no, sa mainit na sikip na mga daan dito, at bukod pa dyan ayaw nilang masunog, no, sa mainit na sinag ng araw maya-maya lamang. Kumpara daw sa kahapon, mas kakaunti daw yung tao dito ngayon. Pero kanina nung tinignan natin yung mga presyo, no, ng mga bilihin dito, Angela at Diego, na affordable naman. Maaari ka nang bumili ng terno para sa mga regalo pang bata ng kakalaga lang ng 65 pesos. May mga t-shirt na 150 pesos for 2 na rin. And then yung mga panglamisita, no, yung cover, table cover, meron ditong 100 piso kada metro. Iba-iba na yung kapal niyan. May manipis, may makapal, may magaspang, may smooth. And dito nga kung makikita ninyo sa likuran ko, dahan-dahan na rin na bumagal yung daloy ng trapiko, no, ayon sa mga tendero dito. Bukas naman daw sila hanggang alas 7 o alas 8 ng gabi. Pero bibigyan ko kayo ng mabilis na tour lang, Angela, no? Kasi ito, no, yung mga pinakamabebenta dito. Ito yung mga Christmas banners na tinatawag. Hindi na mga Christmas trees at Christmas balls yung mababenta dito ngayon, no? Ito na yung mga Happy New Year, and then yung mga kagaya nito, itong mga loot bags na merong image ni Santa Claus na 20 to 50 pesos yung range price niyan. And then yung mga 2026 na mga banners. Bukod pa dyan, Angela, kapag pumunta tayo dito sa kabilang bahagi rito, meron na rin dito, no, yung mabenta na mga Tupperwares, no? Ito yung mga microwavable containers. Dito dito marami na talagang bumibili ng mga momshes natin at mga kapatid pa natin, no? Dahil pwede daw, no, mga pang-sharon, mga pambalot at mga matitira na mga handa ngayong Pasko.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Arles, kailan ba nagsimula na magkaroon ngayon, ano, at magpuntahan yung mga tao dyan sa Divisoria? Because I remember few weeks ago, dumadaing yung mga tendero-tendera dyan sa Divisoria na parang matumal at talagang karamihan daw sa mga mamimili ay nag-online shopping na lang.
Totoo, Angela, no? Alam mo, may mga kapatid tayo dito na nakausap natin na isa daw talaga sa mga pinakamatindi nilang kalaban ngayong Christmas season yung online shopping nga, no? Ayon kasi sa kanila, yung mga kababayan natin ngayon, mas gusto na yung hassle-free na pamimili ng kanilang mga dekorasyon, mga pangregalo, and syempre, busy daw sa mga trabaho. So, one click away, pwede ka nang makapagpa-deliver agad ng iyong mga pangregalo. But so far for them, halos taon-taon naman daw, nakalinya talaga, no? Buong taon, nakalinya yung kanilang mga paninda dito. Nagbabago na lamang pag season na. So may mga balik sa eskwela, merong summer, and then ngayon itong Pasko. So iba-iba na naman yung nakahilera nila ditong mga paninda. But at least for them, no, yung iba dito 1 month na daw na nakahilera dito yung kanilang mga panindado. For the first 2 weeks ng December, mas mabenta daw yung mga Christmas decoration, no, yung mga pampasko, yung Christmas tree, kagaya nga na nabagit ko kanina. Though ngayon daw, since nakapag-decorate na yung ibang nating mga kapatid, mas mabenta na talaga yung mga dekorasyon and yung mga mementos, no, yung mga regalo na pwedeng ibigay sa kanilang mga kapatid, kaibigan, at iba pang mga pwedeng pagregaluhan.
Alright, maraming salamat sa iyong oras. That was our mobile journalist, Ardes de los Santos. Now, in other news, Congress has extended its sessions amid concerns there may be little time left for Malacanang to review and sign the 2026 national budget before year-end. Mobile Journal Merimon Reyes reports.
The Senate yesterday officially extended its plenary sessions until the end of the year to pave way for the last leg in processing the country's 2026 budget before going on a holiday break. According to Senate Finance Committee Chair Sherwin Gatchalian, the extension will give time for the printing of the draft enrolled bill as well as its signing by the Congress alongside the Bicameral Conference Committee report expected to be accomplished by December 28.
So by that time, we will have all the documents in place. And the documents will be shared with the Senate, with the senators, and also with the BICAM countries. And then after that, on the 29th, we will have our ratification.
Whether we like it or not, maybe in the past, maraming singit, na-approve na sa BICAM report, napapalitan pa sa enrollment of bill na hindi dapat tama yun. So, just to allow our colleagues to be able to study and make sure that the Bicameral Conference Committee report is exactly what's approved.
This Congress, under our leadership, will never allow a blind ratification.
Gatchalian also expressed his apologies to fellow congressmen for the extensions in the legislative calendar because of the transparency efforts being done.
Alam ko, marami ho sa ating mga kasamahan may plano na makasama yung kanilang mga mahal sa buhay, pero pinili ho nila na manatili ho dito sa ating bansa at makasama po natin para magkaroon po tayo ng mapag-usapan po ito.
While the budget's final version is underway, Senate President Tito Soto weighs in on the possible lack of time for the executive to review the budget and have it signed within the target schedule. According to Soto, should this happen, a reenacted budget may take place until the first week of January 2026.
They have started reviewing it since the time that we were tackling it in the BICAM, and after the BICAM, and then on the 29th, we ratify an enrolled bill. There is a possibility.
Was there
31. Kung na-review na nila. Pero kung hindi pa kompleto, talagang possibly first week of January.
Walang masamang implication yan, SP.
Wala ko a few days, even a week or so. Wala problema.
After the ratification of the enrolled bill and BICAM report on December 29, it will be transmitted to President Bongbong Marcos the same day for his final approval and signing, hoped to be done before the year ends. Kapatid Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes, we are One News.
The House of Representatives has extended its session calendar to give lawmakers a one-day window to review the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the 2026 national budget. Sessions will resume on December 29 when the report is set for ratification. Lawmakers are expected to receive copies of the BICAM report on December 28. Some House members raised concerns over the limited review time, citing past issues with last-minute budget insertions. Once ratified, President Marcos will have 2 days to veto items or sign the 6.79 trillion 2026 budget into law.
In other news, the Supreme Court has upheld the murder conviction of 3 police officers in the 2017 killing of 17-year-old Kian de los Santos during the anti-drug campaign under former President Rodrigo Duterte. The officers were sentenced to reclusion perpetua or to 20 to 40 years in prison in order to pay the victim's family a total of 275,000 pesos in damages. The court said De Los Santos was stopped, assaulted, and forced into a compromising position before being dragged to a secluded area and fatally shot. It ruled that the killing was carried out with treachery, noting multiple gunshot wounds to the teenager's head fired while he was kneeling or sitting left him no chance to defend himself. Yun. Very
Remember
crucial
this
talaga
case,
yung
oo.
yung medical legal na yan, na yung testimonya niya na saying na si De Los Santos was likely in a sitting position or kneeling position.
And-
in fact, that would tell you na hindi kasi ang sinasabi ng mga accused na
Laban.
Anong laban eh. So kung ikaw in kneeling position,
Not
there's no
only-
way that you could
Not only
diba?
kneeling, but what was kneeling behind.
Sitting or kneeling position when he was shot.
Facing, with his back to the police. Kasi pwede kang nakasit o naka-kneel, pero nakaharap ka sa police. May laban ka pa eh. Pero not only was he sitting and kneeling, yung back niya was turned towards the policeman. In other words, pinaluhod kang nakatalikod. Yung barrel, nasa back ng head tatama. So talagang execution. Diba? Hindi yung, paano ka maglalaban doon?
And then there were witnesses pa saying na, di ba, nung nahuli nga siya ng mga pulis, itong si Kian De Los Santos, parang sinabi niya, tama na po, kasi may exam pa ako tomorrow, parang bukas, may exam pa ako bukas.
Nakakaano?
Diba? So, kasi syempre, of course, legal remedy ng mga accused is to appeal the decision. So, ang ginawa naman ng korte, di upheld, no?
Upheld.
Yung kanilang unang naging desisyon. So, talagang tuloy-tuluyan na sila makukulong. At
I
pananagutan
remember that,
itong
eh.
pagkamatay ni Kian De Los Santos.
I think si Ma'am Raquel Fortun was took a look at the case, di ba? Not in an official capacity, but ata in her own capacity as well. I remember she took a look, she made a comment on it na imposibleng nang laban yan si Kian because based sa tama, parang nakatalikod, nakaano siya eh. Naka-kneel, tapos he was facing down. Yun. So
meron pa kasi nakita, the officers then forced him to hold the towel covering what appeared to be a gun and made him stand with his shirt raised to cover his head. This was before he was shot. No? And witnesses later heard one officer ask whether they should bring Kian to police station, to which the others replied, ibaba na lang natin to. So yung dalawa, tatlo kasi yan eh. Yung isa para naging lookout, yung dalawa executed Kian De Los Santos.
ngayon, mabubulok sila sa kulungan.
Oo.
All right, let's move on. Vice President Sara Duterte has denied any connection to Ramil Madriaga, who claims to be her bagman. In a statement, Duterte said she has no personal relationship with Madriaga and never gave him any instructions. She also denied ever visiting him in jail or discussing any matters with him. The Vice President dismissed photographs submitted by Madriaga, saying they were taken during public events and do not prove any private connection. Duterte further accused Madriaga of spreading false statements, suggesting his claims are an attempt to damage her potential 2028 presidential bid. Madriaga had earlier submitted a sworn affidavit to the Office of the Ombudsman alleging that Duterte's 2022 election campaign was funded by POGO operators and drug dealers. Don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. The Quezon City Police District said missing bride-to-be Shera De Juan had been facing emotional distress and financial concerns prior to her disappearance. A digital forensic examination of De Juan's devices revealed that her struggles were tied to wedding expenses and her father's medical condition. Her fiancé, Mark R.J. Reyes, however, said the financial issues had been resolved months ago. De Juan was last seen on December 10 at a gas station along Commonwealth Avenue in North Fairview, Quezon City.
Nakita natin doon na may problem doon sa mga finances ni doon siya nagwo-worry. Siguro na burnout na nga siya. Mukhang na-stress siya sa sunod-sunod na problema. kailangan niyang mag-rest or magbakasyon for a while.
All are settled. Kumbaga, yung nasabi po na parang issues niya with the finances, resolved na siya months before. Ang gusto lang namin malaman kung ano yung susunod. Ano yung next steps na gagawin para makita siya.
But this is how the investigation is unfolding.
This is based on digital forensic examination.
Oo, kasi when they got her cell phone and laptop. So.
Ang maigi dito, tignan nila yung timestamp nitong mga messages that indicate her stress. And also, I read in another report that meron mga search fields about death, about ways to die and things like that. We're not saying na nag-suicide
Kasama
siya.
dun sa ano?
Kasama lang sa loob ng phone niya. Siguro she researched that at the time she was stressed pero naging okay na siya. And siguro, sinasabi ng police, she needed time to reflect away. Pero kung wala naman siyang problema sa husband niya at that time, ang tanong nila, bakit siya alis? Kasi dapat katuwangan niya ito unless ayaw niya idamay yung husband sa problems
We
niya.
don't know kasi what's going on in somebody's mind, diba?
Actually, kahit sabi ng husband niya, kahit tapos na kahit tapos na sabihin mo yung stress na resolve nito, number one, paano mo binayaran yung mga bills? Siyempre, umutang ka rin. So, you still owe money. Number two, siyempre, there are some spouses or mga jowa, hindi mo isi-share, uy, may problema akong ganito. Minsan, kikim-kimin na lang yan Diba? So, malay mo, ano pa rin siya, burnout, may after effects.
We don't know din kasi different people, different types of coping. And as we've seen nga dun sa mga reports dito, kasama sa mga nagsasalita is her father, which is isa din sa mga napag-usapan over the couple of days na sinasabi isa siya sa mga maaaring naging problema dahil daw in and out of the hospital. Pero sabi naman ng father, wala namang problema kasi may HMO or dahil nga senior siya libre, ang problema na lang is yung pamasahe going to the hospital. Pero sabi nga niya, nanawagan siya na okay na yon, malapit na yung birthday ko. Every year naman, we celebrate my birthday, so uwi ka na lang. Yun yung parang panawagan niya. So hopefully, sabi nga rin ng asawa niya, yung fiancé niya na ganun na lang, parang nagpalipas na lang muna kaysa na iba yung nangyari, di ba? Because of course, during the first initial stages of the investigation, may mga, yun nga, natag itong asawa na person of interest, even the brother, because they were the last ones who have seen
pero SOP lang
the
yun
girl, diba, alive. So yeah, it is SOP yun, parte ng investigasyon yun. So ngayon, ang nakakita naman nilang sa kanilang investigation yung sa digital
basta
footprints
ang critical dito is itong video na nakita nila kanina, yung CCTV footage. They have yet to determine whether sumakay siya sa bus or she continued walking past the bus. Kasi what is seen lang is she was walking towards the bus and di na siya nag-reappear sa other side. So ang sinasabi ng police, either sumakay siya, anong bus to, saan pumunta yung bus, hanapin natin if she was seen by the conductor at saan bumaba. Kung hindi siya sumakay, in other words, they're going to look at the CCTV footage after the bus in the corresponding street.
Exactly. And whatever happened na dun sa may isang witness na nagsabi na nakita siya na bumibili nga ng sapatos. They can also trace that as well, 'di ba? Anong mode of payment ang ginawa niya, ano yung resibo, etc. We don't know. So but hopefully at the end of the day,
iniwan niya yung cellphone niya, so hindi siya nag-e-wallet.
Mali mo baka nag-credit
debit card or cash.
We don't know. Alright, in other news, a grand premiere was held for Manila's Finest, one of the highly anticipated entries in the Metro Manila Film Festival. Celebrities, filmmakers, national athletes, and fans showed full support for the MQuest Signal Spring Films production starring Piolo Pascual and directed by Raymond Brett. MediaQuest executives led by Chairman Manny V. Pangilinan were also present and expressed high hopes for the film and for the continued growth of the local entertainment industry. Manila's Finest is set to open at 34 cinemas so far, with its nationwide theatrical release on December 25.
That's a great sign, diba? So it looks like a great interest in Filipino movies now, as it is for Filipino OPM, right?
Bottom line is we have to work hand in hand with each other because napakaliit na industriya ng pelikulang Pilipino. So any support that we can get from everyone, we really appreciate it, and we give back the same thing to them kasi magkakasama tayo dito.
Yun. So, abangan nila yan, yung Manila's Finest na may mga, we've got good reviews, di ba, dun sa mga nauna na, sa mga nag-premiere na.
Yeah.
So, congratulations ngayon pala. And of course, sa lahat ng kasali sa Metro Manila Film Festival dahil at this point, lagi nabubuhay yung pelikulang Pilipino. Diba?
Ayun. Hoy, countdown. 2 more days till
2 more
Christmas.
days. Hindi nga pa tayo nag-countdown dito,
Oo nga,
no?
hindi tayo nag-countdown.
Mag-countdown na tayo
mga
ngayon.
kapatid, 2 more days till Christmas. It's the 23rd today.
Ano regalo mo sa akin?
Ubus na ba ang pera nyo?
Hindi ako pinapansin.
Ubus na ba ang pera nyo, mga kapatid?
Wala akong regalo.
Kasama namin isang ipidan dito, di ba? Ubus na rin ang pasensya natin lahat. Kasi hindi naman. We have to remember yung spirit of Christmas talaga is in giving and be kind. And siguro when we were children, we remembered Christmas in a different way. It's because we were the recipients of kindness. But this time, it's our turn to give kindness toward. At nahihilo ako sa pa-up and down ng prompter. Bangon na konti.
So, maging mabait ka na sa akin.
Hindi, pakita mo na yung quote. May quote ako ng kapatid. Yan. Secret ang regalo mo.
Okay.
Alright, before I let you go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote. In a world that forgets the spirit of Christmas, reminds us to choose kindness anyway. And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagonzad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro. Third, we are One News, kapatid.
All sides, all the time.